Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lepakshi Khurana. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Tuesday, the 3rd of February. BJP releases its vision document 2050 ahead of Delhi Assembly elections. BNP-led petrol bomb attack on bus kills 7 in Bangladesh. And bad infrastructure makes travel a nightmare in POK. And now for all the details. India's Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj on Tuesday wrapped her 4-day trip to Beijing after meeting China's highest leadership. The visit represents India's interest to reaffirm its ties with China and lays the groundwork for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's likely visit to the country in May. A report.
It's her first visit to Beijing since taking office, and India's External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj has wasted little time to cement Sino-India ties long strained by border disputes. Her 4-day visit involved high-level meetings with China's leadership, such as her counterpart and the Chinese president. Ms. Swaraj has unveiled ambitious plans to enhance relations with Asia's fastest-growing economy, one of which is to engage China in a 6-point proposal to fulfill a common dream of an Asian century. Ms. Swaraj had also attended the 13th trilateral foreign ministers meeting with Russia and China. She's convinced both countries to support an Indian-led resolution to counter terrorism, something that has been pending in the United Nations for 19 years. India and China have also formalized plans to open the second route for the Kailash Mansarovar pilgrimage this year, which will pave the way for thousands more Indians to embark on the annual journey. While these plans may soften the ground for discussions on long-standing issues, observers say many challenges lie ahead for the Modi government.
India and China have a number of issues. They are political, there are trade, economic, there are security, strategic, environmental issues, consultation on the big global challenges. Terrorism is one of them. So my sense is that Mr. Modi will have a very full spectrum.
India has turned its focus on China after having engaged with the US last month. It appears Mr. Modi's government will not be seen to align with any particular influence on the international stage, be it America or Japan. It will no doubt be a diplomatic balancing act for Mr. Modi in the coming months ahead of his trip to China, which is reportedly to happen in the summer. Avneet Arora for South Asia Newsline in New Delhi.
Pakistan government has reportedly intensified its crackdown on militants following the brazen attack on a Peshawar school. But the parents of those killed seem unhappy with the attitude of the authorities.
Students might have returned to the Peshawar Army School, but fear continues to loom in the minds of family members of the victims. Mothers of children killed in the deadly terror attack and members of the Ghazi Forum on Monday demanded an investigation into the tragic incident. Criticizing the authorities and the army for its failure to book the culprits, the aggrieved parents gave the government a 48-hour ultimatum to make the report of the investigation public, or else they would be forced to stage protests. They blamed Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf chief Imran Khan for making false promises over holding an inquiry into the incident and even demanded the resignation of Interior Minister Chaudhry Nisar Ali Khan. Pakistan witnessed one of the biggest recent terror attacks in December when 6 heavily armed men stormed into the Peshawar Army School, opening fire at the students and staff members, killing 142 people. The Taliban, which claimed responsibility for the attack, said it was in retaliation to the ongoing Pakistani army crackdown in Waziristan.
Days before Delhi votes to choose its new assembly, political parties in the fray have upped the ante. The ruling Bharatiya Janata Party is opening its final cards against main contender, the Aam Aadmi Party.
The BJP on Tuesday released its vision document promising transparent and effective government for Delhi and to turn the national capital into a world-class city. The 270-point document was unveiled in the presence of party's chief ministerial candidate Kiran Bedi and Delhi unit chief Satish Upadhyay, apart from others. The document has listed 37 issues including women's safety, water and electricity supply, housing, transport, sanitation and civic infrastructure. Bedi announced that the new policies would see through transparency, accountability and zero tolerance to corruption. She said she would put her experience to use in its implementation.
सारे जीवन का। 40 साल का एक्सपीरियंस सिर्फ मेरा ही नहीं होगा, अब प्लस 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 होगा और ये डीप एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव एक्सपीरियंस से डिलीवर किया जाएगा। और बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट बात है, बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस जो हैं फ्रॉम अदर सक्सेसफुल स्टेट्स, जहां जहां सक्सेसफुल स्टेट्स में बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस कामयाब हुई हैं, हम उनको देंगे।
Bedi said her monthly program Dil Ki Baat on the lines of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Mann Ki Baat will give a detailed performance review of all the actions taken by the government. BJP's vision document, however, saw criticism from both AAP and the Congress party, who called it sluggish that lacked agenda. The AAP had also on Tuesday rubbished BJP's allegations of accepting black money for funding its election expenses for the polls. Delhi is set to vote on Saturday, barely 14 months after it elected its previous legislature. The 2013 elections had given a hung assembly with neither BJP nor AAP scoring a clear majority. But this time around, the two parties are confident of getting a clear mandate. The Congress party, which was ousted from power in December 2013 after serving office for 3 terms, is also trying to better its performance.
At least 7 people were killed and 15 others were seriously injured in a petrol bomb attack on a bus in southeastern Bangladesh early on Tuesday. The attack in the district of Komala was carried out by opposition activists trying to enforce a transport boycott. The bus was full of sleeping passengers when it was set on fire, charring the victims. The injured were shifted to hospitals in capital Dhaka. Supporters of the ruling Awami League took to the streets to protest the rise in attacks on buses, lorries and cars since the anti-government protest began last month. Opposition leader Khaleda Zia, who called for the BNP-led nationwide agitation, has however denied that a party and its Islamist allies were behind the fire bombings. And even as there seems to be no end to BNP's nationwide transport blockade and violence, civil society activists and transporters have come out on the streets to protest against the worsening situation.
Anger is rising in Bangladesh against the indefinite shutdown called by the BNP. Hundreds of Bangladeshis marched through Dhaka streets to protest against the damage caused to their vehicles in the ongoing blockade. The shutdown, which is in its 5th week, has not only left the economy in shambles but also thrown normal life out of gear. Over 300 demonstrators, including vehicle owners and drivers, protested against the damage caused to their vehicles after being burned by opposition party activists. Many asked the government to stop the BNP's free-hand tactics.
এবং অনেক শ্রমিক পঙ্গু হয়েছে, অনেক শ্রমিক নষ্ট মারা গেছেন এবং এদের ক্ষতিপূরণ সহ এদের ক্ষতিপূরণ দাবি করতেছি। পাশাপাশি যে সমস্ত শ্রমিকরা মারা গেছে তাদের পরিবারের ভরণ পোষণের জন্য তাদের জন্য সরকার সুদৃষ্টি দেয়, সেদিকে করতেছি। আর যে সমস্ত দল খালেদা জিয়ার প্রতি অনুরোধ, তারা যেন এই সমস্ত জ্বালাও পোড়াও অন্তত পেট্রোল বোমা যেন না মারে, সেই আহ্বান জানিয়ে আমি শেষ করছি।
The BNP is observing its latest 72-hour-long countrywide shutdown since Sunday. While hundreds of vehicles have been burned by miscreants, blockade-related violence has also killed at least 40 people for past few weeks. BNP Supremo and former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia had called for an indefinite blockade on January 5th after she was refused permission to hold an anti-government protest. In one of the several cases filed against her, Zia on Monday was sued for 42 murders during the agitation along with 3 other BNP officials. While the embattled party chief was accused of masterminding the killings, others were booked for instigating them. Despite the economy being hard hit, Zia has so far rejected all requests from various corners to call off the shutdown. The country's economy has experienced an estimated loss of over $450 million, nearly 3% of the total predicted GDP output for fiscal year 2014-15.
Life is a daily struggle for people of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, and adding to their woes is bad infrastructure and poor connectivity, making it difficult to negotiate the rough terrain. A report.
One of the biggest challenges the people in POK face is travel. Frequent landslides block crucial roads and damage whatever little infrastructure exists, cutting off the remote region from rest of the world. This forces the locals to negotiate treacherous terrain and broken roads, risking their lives and limbs. A whopping $34 million was spent for the construction of the Kohala-Muzaffarabad-Chowkati road, but it has become a symbol of corruption and nepotism. Whatever little was made in the name of the road remains shoddy, locals complain.
हमारी कश्मीर की तिजारत सारी इस पे होती है और बहुत सी हैवी ट्रैफिक यहाँ से गुजरती है। हमारी हुक्मरानों से यह गुजारिश है, सबसे पहले तो इस रोड को दोबारा तमीर किया जाए ताकि यहाँ पे हादसात ना हो। दूसरे नंबर पर इस बात की भी इंक्वायरी की जाए कि इतना पैसा खर्च होने के बावजूद भी ये रोड का ये हाल है कि मुजफ्फराबाद से चिकोटी तक जितनी भी दीवारें यहाँ पे लगी हुई हैं, सारी दीवारें गिर गई हैं।
Residents also blame the construction departments for diverting the allotted funds and instead using low quality and bad material.
इसमें मटेरियल जो भी इस्तेमाल हुआ है, जहाँ तक मेरा आइडिया ये जो आपको नज़र आ रहा है जो सामने, इसमें देखें इसमें कन्वेक्शन होनी चाहिए थी, इसमें स्टील का अंदर इस्तेमाल करना चाहिए था। इसमें बिल्कुल थ्रू आउट सारी उन्होंने रेत डाली हुई है, तो ये रेत कहाँ ठहर सकती है इतने बड़े पानी के आगे।
The unprecedented floods of August 2010 had washed away miles of motorable roads. Over 4 years later, most of it is yet to be repaired.
ये दूसरी मर्तबा ऐसा हो गया है, पहली दफ़ा सैलाब आया तो ये रोड मुकम्मल तौर पर गिर गई। अगर ये सही तरीके से होती तो फिर ये कभी भी ना गिरती। तो इस दफ़ा फिर ऐसे हुआ, ये दुमेल के मकान से ये जहाँ पर चश्मा है, यहाँ से फिर दोबारा गिर गई है।
The government claims it has spent millions to improve road links, but locals say the nexus between corrupt bureaucrats and politicians have siphoned off the money.
Amid prayers and rituals, Hindus in northern India converged on riverbanks to mark the festival of Full Moon Day on Tuesday. Take a look.
Braving the winter chill, millions of devotees thronged the banks of river Ganges in northern Varanasi to observe Magh Purnima by paying obeisance to the sun god. Also called the Full Moon Day, worshippers got into religious pageantry by taking holy dip on the auspicious occasion. Many believe bathing in the river would wash away their sins.
परिवार का मंगल होता है, अभ्युदय होता है, घर में सुख शांति बनी रहती है, स्थिर लक्ष्मी का वास होता है, तमाम प्रकार के सद्गुणों की प्राप्ति होती है। माघ का पुनीत महीना माना जाता है।
According to many, donating food, clothes and money to the needy on the festival helps in liberating the departed souls. Revered as bathing festival, Magh Purnima is an important date for holy dip during the annual Magh Mela and Kumbh Mela. It also marks the last day of the month of Magh in the Hindu calendar.
Streets of Sri Lanka became a sight to reckon with, echoing drum beats and lavishly decorated jumbos. Take a look at what gave this festival its flamboyant colours.
Caparisoned elephants, traditional dancers and torch-bearers walked down the streets of Sri Lankan capital Colombo to mark the Buddhist pageant. Decked up in brightly tinted attires, the gigantic animals displayed awe-inspiring footwork, dancing gracefully to the slightest direction of their drivers. The pageant, which starts from the Gangaramaya Buddhist temple, has been held annually for nearly 4 decades. The highlight of the festival is Perahera Karandua, a casket carried by the biggest elephant believed to contain a relic of Buddha. The colourful parade also had participation of Kadyan dancers, fire-juggling acrobats and musicians. Tens of hundreds of people from across the country lined up to witness the unique event. The night carnival also saw many foreign tourists braving the winter chill to get soaked in the cultural extravaganza. Locally known as Kandi Esala Perahera pageant, the 10-day event is one of Asia's biggest religious processions.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. BJP releases its Vision Document 2050 ahead of Delhi Assembly elections. BNP-led petrol bomb attack on bus kills 7 in Bangladesh. And bad infrastructure makes travel a nightmare in POK. Now viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.